Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 12 must-start and must-sit running backs for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in depth at the beginning of the video into my must-start running backs of the week, and then about halfway into the video, we're going to be pivoting into my must-sit running backs based upon their matchups for week number 12. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, we put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 12 must-start and must-sit running backs. We begin with the must-start category, headlined by Devonta Freeman, running back of the Baltimore Ravens, going up against the Cleveland Browns this week. Now, last week, Latavius Murray ended up returning from injury for the Baltimore Ravens, and this caused havoc in the minds of many fantasy football managers, as they believed that it was time to worry. That maybe they have to hit that big red button in their mind that puts off the Mayday symbol, that makes you worry about the fact that maybe Latavius Murray could come back and get a stranglehold over this offense. And many people ended up benching Devonta Freeman for other running backs that may not have played as well. However, that worry, all of that worry that a lot of people had, was unwarranted, as Devonta Freeman had 16 rushes for 49 yards and a touchdown in that game, as well as catching 6 passes for 31 yards. And all of this was without Lamar Jackson, so he had a good game even without Lamar Jackson up against the Chicago Bears, which is even more impressive because it's not like the Baltimore Ravens had a smash matchup in that game where they just dominated from the start of the game to the end. They had to make a late comeback in the game, and we did still see Devonta Freeman heavily utilized throughout the game. So going forward, it should be very safe to assume that Devonta Freeman is the running back to have for the Baltimore Ravens. He has proven to be the clear lead back of the team over the last 5 games, and I believe that going forward, he should be in your lineup week in and week out. And this week, going up against the Cleveland Browns, which are a middle-of-the-pack run defense, I believe that should be able to spark even more confidence for you in Devonta Freeman. Next must-start running back is A.J. Dillon of the Green Bay Packers, going up against the L.A. Rams this week at Lambeau Field. Now, it seems as though Aaron Jones has the potential to return in this game. So if Aaron Jones is back, then you could just skip over this. But it seems like it is going to be a true game time decision for Aaron Jones. So when Aaron Jones returns, obviously, A.J. Dillon goes back to being one of those running backs that you're really hoping that the Green Bay Packers are just mollywopping a team, beating a team down, and then A.J. Dillon can come in later on in the game, pound the rock, and score some fantasy points. But when Aaron Jones is not there, A.J. Dillon has the upside to be a top 5 running back. He is in the perfect situation to have fantasy success. One would argue that Dillon is almost in a better scenario to succeed than Jones ever was, because there is no one like A.J. Dillon behind A.J. Dillon when he is running the ball to take away his opportunities, whereas when Aaron Jones is there, A.J. Dillon is still going to be seeing the ball at least a little bit during each game. Last week up against the Minnesota Vikings, A.J. Dillon rushed 11 times for 53 yards, as well as catching 6 of his 6 targets for 44 yards. This week he faces the L.A. Rams, who have struggled mightily over the last couple of games, so until Jones returns, I believe that Dillon has to be in your lineup, and I do believe that this week up against the L.A. Rams, that A.J. Dillon, if Aaron Jones is not there, could easily be a top 12, maybe even a top 5 running back on the week. My final must-start running back before we pivot into the must-sit running backs is Miles Sanders, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles, going up against the New York Football Giants in MetLife in this game. Now, I understand that calling Miles Sanders a must-start may worry some people, because Miles Sanders this season, when healthy, has not been all that good, and you may even consider him a bust if you drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round of your fantasy drafts, where he was going in a majority of leagues. Now, is this Miles Sanders' fault? Is it the team's fault? Or is it a little bit of both? both? In my opinion, it's a little bit of both because earlier on in the season, even when he was given the ball, he wasn't all that successful. But you can also blame Nick Sirianni, who at the beginning of the season, prior to Miles Sanders getting hurt, just had no idea that running the football would be effective for his football team. He just figured out right when Miles Sanders ended up getting hurt that, hey, if we give the ball to the running backs, we can actually win these games. Surprising, I know. But now with Nick Sirianni having that epiphany, I believe that Miles Sanders is locked into a very solid situation in Philadelphia, especially this week with Jordan Howard out, because now Jordan Howard will not be there to soak up a bunch of carries and potentially vulture away a touchdown from Miles Sanders. So in his return game last week up against the New Orleans Saints after being injured for a couple of weeks, he had 16 rushes for 94 yards as well as having one target, which turned into 0 receptions. He also had one fumble lost in that game that a lot of people are going to key on. Oh, Miles Sanders fumbled. What is that going to mean? In my opinion, I still think Nick Sirianni is comfortable with Miles Sanders. I do believe that Miles Sanders will be seeing the ball early and often in this matchup up against the Giants. And I understand that it is a tough pill to swallow because of how shit Miles Sanders was earlier on in the season, but I believe he is going to bounce back and play great this week, even though he fumbled last week in that matchup up against the New Orleans Saints. But before we could pivot into the must-sit running backs, I would like to let you guys know that we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NFL season to bring you guys some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you guys 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link down below, deposit, and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we'll reach out to you via email with your coupon. If you would like immediate access, that's okay as well. Please email support@awesemo.com, and we'll get you set up immediately. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description down below that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest. Sunday's $1 million NFL baller. Make sure that you use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give you guys the best shot at winning big. Now to pivot into the must-sit running backs of the week, beginning with J.D. McKissic, running back of the Washington football team, going up against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Now, normally, for a running back, this would be a juicy matchup going up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. They're not the 12th man anymore that they were a couple of years ago. That defense falls short both up against the pass as well as up against the run. But the situation for J.D. McKissic in Washington continues to look bleaker and bleaker as the season goes on. Some weeks, we see this motherfucker get like 10 targets. And other weeks, the guy gets 1 target. And it is so confusing because there is no reason for the upped usage and there's no reason for the down usage. It just seems like, you know, Riverboat Ron wakes up in the morning one week, he decides it's McKissic time. The other week, he decides that it's Antonio Gibson season. And both of them, McKissic and Antonio Gibson, have been a combination of confusion all season long, and it is damn near impossible to predict and project which one of them is going to end up being the lead back week in and week out. So with all of that confusion said, I would rather just sit down J.D. McKissic this week because it seems like it is Antonio Gibson's backfield. Will it be this week? Maybe, maybe not. But again, that confusion is just so strong in the backfield that I would rather just pivot away. Final must-sit running back and the final player of today's video is Devonta Foreman, running back of the Tennessee Titans, going up against the New England Patriots this week in New England. Last week, up against the Houston Texans, he had 7 rushes for 25 yards, as well as 1 reception on 1 target for 15 yards. They cut Adrian Peterson last week. Jeremy McNichols is banged up this week, so a lot of people are going to try and talk themselves into Devonta Foreman. And while I think the upside is there, while I understand why some people may have wanted to pick him up off the waiver wire, who in their right mind wants to play running back up against the Patriots? The Patriots' run defense has looked so good this season, and I think that Devonta Foreman will struggle mightily in this game. I would not be surprised at all if he was the lead rusher on the team, if he was the guy getting the most rushing opportunities. And while that's important to note going forward for the Tennessee Titans and for this running back backfield, I believe that for this game alone, I don't want anything to do with Devonta Foreman, even though a lot of people are trying to get a little bit cute and start him in this game. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. Please make sure you guys check out Yahoo DFS. The link is down below in the description. I love you guys all so much. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy.